r/askreddit. What's your itis but a scratch? Moment?
Fell off my bike and into some wet gravel when I was 8. No big deal, scraped my knee and got soaked. Played the rest of the day outside and came home for dinner. Went to use the bathroom, and when I pulled my jeans off, I realized I wasn't soaked from the puddle. It was blood. I had sliced a huge gash in my knee, and when I pulled my pants down, a flap of skin pulled away and it started bleeding again. My first stitches. Flap of skin, flap of skin, flap of skin. My whole stomach pulled up into my lungs.
Stomach and lungs sounds worse.
Back in my baseball days, when I was pitching, I completely lost a pitch, and it beamed a guy in the jaw. He throws his bat down, glares at me with the glariest of glares ever glared, spits out blood, then calmly runs to first base as though nothing happened. It was terrifyingly badass. When I was in 7th grade, my team had just won the first playoffs game for the season, and we were having a post-game discussion. For some reason, the coach had the genius idea of having everyone throw their gloves in the air. When I threw mine up, I looked up so I could catch it when it fell back down. Some kid's glove fell on my face as I looked up, and it left a huge cut across my eye from the leather. It did not hurt at all, but the scab went across my eye, and when I went to school, half the people freaked out.
When I was very young, I pulled a tablecloth and managed to dump a freshly boiled pot of tea all over myself. I get rushed to hospital. My skin is red and bubbling. I should be in floods of tears. Instead, I proudly point to my ruined skin and proclaim to the paramedic I did that. Over 30 years later, and I still have some scars, but I'm definitely no longer that hardcore. That reminds me of a story my mother told me. A sibling of my grandmother, she had 9 or 10, grabbed a boiling pot of milk from the stove and accidentally poured it all over himself. He was only a toddler and died from that. This must have happened around 1930, maybe.
Damn, that is rough. My dad told me this story about when he was over for dinner at his best friend when they were young. They were eating fondue and they didn't have the table heater, so every so often they had to reheat the oil. The mom was just carrying the freshly heated pan with oil back to the table. When she walked into the room, the handle broke off and the whole pan of 160-degree oil dropped over her legs and feet, and she was wearing nylon leggings. They were forever fused into her skin. A couple of years ago, my mate broke my nose in class and the teacher told me to be quiet. What even?
His mate in high school broke my nose in class and the teacher told him to be quiet.
I got hit by a car while riding my bicycle, flew through the air, bounced off his windshield, breaking his windshield, my helmet, and 2 vertebrae, then thrown to the ground where my kneecap shattered and bone was sticking out of the skin. And as I lay there in shock, unaware of how badly I was injured, I thought I might be able to get back on my bike and ride home. Shock is a haluva drug.
I was listening to a podcast today and heard about a guy who'd been in a motorcycle accident, and as his helmet was bouncing all along the asphalt, he was composing a little song to the rhythm of his helmet bouncing. Turns out there's a scientific reason behind these unique experiences. Under normal conditions, your brain effectively discards large amounts of sensory information because it's not useful. When you're in danger, particularly something extreme, like an accident, less of this information is thrown away, and you start forming short-term memories at a drastically increased rate. This helps you become more acutely aware of your surroundings and better able to protect yourself because you're processing more of the input given to you by your senses. Time is relative. If you think faster, then everything seems to be slower. Just as if you live longer, long period of time seems to be shorter, and interesting stuff.
I broke my toe running up the stairs and I ran back down the stair thinking I just stubbed it until my toe turned purple. Jesus, Harold Christ.
Wait, is that really what the H stands for?
I was a kid visiting family in West Virginia and was playing with some other kids, which somehow involved me being in a tree. I got a little cut on my hand and was inconsolable, ran to the house for my mum to make it better. She put the smallest of band-aids on it. When I turned around and started walking out of the house, she started yelling and I was just looked at her like, what? There was a trail of blood coming from the back of my leg. Didn't even notice. I won if you got confused about where the pain was coming from. Is that even possible?
I know kids feel the weirdest things as a stomachache, my TPG pad. That's it right. Said he had a kid come in for a stomachache, but ended up having an ear infection. Though I vaguely remember it had something to do with the nerve system related to the stomach, so I don't know if that's it.
Not me, but my teacher. She said that one time when she was in college, she was in a classroom and her foot was stuck on something, but she just yanked back and was fine, but she was looking up the whole time. She got to her dorm and took off her shoe, and it was soaked in blood, and her foot was stabbed by a loose piece of metal.
Got blackout drunk while camping and fell hands first onto the grate that had been over the fire for hours. My wife and friends were all freaking out thinking I definitely had third-degree burns. I came out of my blackout in the bathroom with all of them trying to wash my hands in cold water when all the soot came off. I was somehow completely unharmed. Since then, I've been known as the Unburned.
Does your family have any affiliation with dragons by any chance?
I broke my arm at the skating rink and skated for an hour before I even left. Then, after I left there, I went to a playground to my boyfriend at the time and hung out. I didn't go to the hospital until the next day.
I broke my tailbone off, just the tip. Ice skating when I was 10. I also had a little internal bleeding, but I thought I had started my menses, so didn't even worry about it. Thought I was pregnant when it didn't come again, and my mum finally took me to the doctor 4 or 5 weeks later, and lo and behold, ruined tailbone. Ice skating is dangerous.
Separated 2 ribs when I slipped going up a staircase. I went down to radiology at work and got an x-ray, looked at it and said, okay, no breaks, and just walked over to the ER and got 2 big rolls of ace bandages. Went back to my desk and took off my shirt and t-shirt. Boss walks in and sees the bruises on my chest. Then I said no biggie, just don't make me laugh, told him what happened, wrapped myself up, and went on with life.
To be fair, there's not much you can do about cracked or broken ribs anyways. I have a cracked rib right now. They just told me to take Tylenol and sleep in whatever position is most comfortable. LOL.
Broke my tailbone and didn't know for 6 months.
That's a long time to go with a break and not notice.
I was just in class one day like, damn, my back hurts. Got an x-ray and they were like, how long has your tailbone been in half? I had to think really hard about it. Feu traced it to when I fell on some ice.
My little sister fell down about 15 steps at our grandma's house when she was a toddler. She got up, giggled, and went to go eat some snacks. This other time, still a toddler, she was supposed to be napping. We were in the living room and heard a huge thud. We ran to the room thinking she'd fell out of the bed. Nope, she somehow managed to pull the TV down. This was the early 2000s. TVs were heavy AF and it fell on top of her. She was laying there in snow angel position and my mom freaked out. When we got the TV off her, she got up and asked for ice. Not to soothe pain, but to eat. My little sister was and still is a champ.
Little kids have incredible pain tolerances. When my cousin got double roundhoused in the jaw and the ribs by her little brother, they both take taekwondo, and he has anger issues. Both areas turned a nasty shade of red and purple, but she still wanted to go outside and play frisbee. It was insane.